If you'd like to pick up any of the cards that you see in today's video, then I have to point you guys onto 3 Mana Inc., the best place in Canada to get your DBS and Digimon sealed and single products. Links will be down in the description. Hey everybody, Espira, and I'm back with another Dragon Ball Super card game deck profile. Well, another is kind of like another, one way to say it. I'm fairly certain the last deck profile I did was actually of this deck, but we have upgraded it since the last time and it made some significant changes to a point where people have gotten back to me and asked me like, hey, so what does the deck look like today? So I've done it a couple of streams. So of course, if you guys want to check out the streams, links will be down in the description. And I have played this deck a good number of times. Now I will preface by saying, this is not the best way to run this deck. And it feels bad to say, but I'm playing this version of the deck because it runs the baby combo. However, the best way to run this deck would probably just be as an aggressive version of a mono yellow leader. So you would cut down a lot more of the combo stuff, maybe just run a little bit of it to be able to run the Graceful Charity combo. But besides that, for the most part, you really are just a good aggressive yellow Saiyan leader, which lends itself to playing things like Turtles and Robotic Riposte and all that stuff, which is kind of where we've teched this deck to have a better mid-range game if our combo flops. So just to highlight, I don't actually think this is the best version of running this leader, but in terms of running this combo, I do think this is probably the best way we can go about it. And if you guys just want the deck list, well, I mean, here it is. But if we're going to talk card by card, let's just break into it. So, of course, our leader is basically a dual attacker on the Awaken side. He just takes a life to be able to go on to the Awaken. Awakens at 2 life or less, and we draw 2, untap 2, and then he's just flat out a dual attacker on this side. If we look into what the combo is, so of course, you're looking for a red-yellow charge on turn 1 so that we can start going into our combo. So turn 1, you're aiming to play Dr. Mew. So if you have a multicolor red-yellow in your energy area, he can play for free, and he's essentially got unique. When you play him, you can search your deck for basically this baby. And when this baby gets played off of the Dr. Mew, you get to draw 3 cards and discard 2, basically being a Graceful Charity. Now that lines up your turn 1 really well because you're effectively aiming to rival the 4-drop baby the turn afterwards. Super Baby 1 All-Consuming Terror is a 4-drop 15k barrier with a rival red-yellow for 1 yellow. Now this deck is very yellow based. We barely have any red. The only real red we have is Dr. Mew, as well as our multicolors and the 5-drop. But essentially you're going to play this, and then depending on what deck your opponent is playing, you might play it on your turn, you might play it on your opponent's turn. The bonus about playing this card on turn 4 is also you additionally get to free play the Baby Janemba, which you're playing at a 3 of. So this one comes in, and when it comes in, you get to look at the top 7 and take up to 2 offerings. If you take 2, you have to discard a card. So it's really good at being able to search not only for our 7-drop grade ape, which is kind of the end line of our combo, but it helps us, you're not going to find it all that often because it is a 1-of, but it does help in trying to find the SS4 Heartfelt Plea. I will say though, the best part is that it's just a free body, and that's really what this deck wants to do. Because our combo negs our opponent down to 0 or minus 5k or around that range typically when we have the turn 3 kill, we want as many bodies on board because every body that's at 0 or more threatens lethal, threatens damage, and that's what you want to do. So it's a free body, it's a 16k, which is kind of annoying for your opponent to deal with, and then it just sticks there. And then to balance it out, we have another arrival for red. So while we're primarily yellow, we do have a red coasting in our energy area from the multicolor that we charged. And if we happen to have Beerus in hand, on the same turn that we arrival the baby, we can arrival the Beerus, which will draw us a card. It'll neg 2 cards for 10k if they're in rest mode. Kind of nice. And he's a board wipe if you need. I've done it a couple times. He's a 25k triple striker when you activate the ability. Can't really complain all that much. It's a pretty good effect. So on turn 4, we play the Super Baby 1, which we're running as a 4 of. We might be able to play out this Baby Janemba if we have it in hand, and we might be able to play out Beerus. Now our board effectively consists of, we could maybe have another Dr. Mew, but this is why the turn 1 is so good, is because this is the red-yellow you need to be able to actually go into the arrival. As far as our super combo goes, we do actually run a 2-2 split between the bottom deck super combo and the multi, just because we want more multicolor options. If we're stuck in a jam and one of these guys or both of these guys aren't on board, we want a cheap, efficient way to be able to actually get into the arrival. Now we're going into our turn 3, and this is basically where the combo kill turn happens. We're going to go into Super Baby 1. We are running 4 copies of him. 5 would be pretty good, actually. He's kind of hard to find sometimes. But do be careful that if he comes on and he gets counterplayed when he comes onto the board, you can't evolve another time. Because his auto will neg something 5k, it'll draw you a card, but then it prevents you from going into him additionally throughout the turn. He doesn't activate main where you get to choose a baby when it causes a 6 from your hand and play on cop. I used to play the 6-drop red baby, but I don't anymore because it felt clunky, and it was an extra red card when we're primarily very yellow. So I really opted to not include it because it's a card that you're not really looking to charge, or else it'll turn off your super combo. And finally, to round it out, we have 3 copies of Grade 8 Baby Ultimate Lifeform. Basically an EX Evolve for red, yellow. It has offering when it comes in, and then this is where the combo is: activate main, you get to choose a card from your life and add it to your hand, and if you do, your opponent's leader gets minus 5k for the turn. So let's say you do off the combo, you have 5 life left. Now you're in a point where you can use Grade 8 Baby 3 times, you can swing with the Unawaken side of your leader, you can then take the life, restand, awaken with your leader, untap 2, draw 2. Now your leader is also a dual attack because you're getting 3 attacks with your leader. Your opponent's at like 0, and now we can do a double strike swing there. If we played Beers, you could do another swing there. If you have Janemba, that's another swing. Then each of these, which you can play for free, would start doing damage if your opponent had 0 or 5k. So now we're 5 swings in. And this is just before the combo. If we awaken, we could additionally get a Heartfelt Plea, which is a triple strike. And then is really where the tempo is going. If our opponent takes 2 damage, we have 2 Super Baby 1s, able to deal a couple of other damage. We have the Swift Retaliation Cooler if we can line up our plays so that our opponent can't counter out, right? We only use 2 energy to go into the 7-drop. If we awaken at that point to prevent any floodgates, we can actually go into Swift Retaliation Cooler. Not only does it prevent the floodgate, but it's an additional attacker. And then there's just the cheap stuff you get out once in a while, right? So like we're looking at, you know, riposts are just going to start flooding the board. They're just 15Ks that'll be really easy to play. We got this Goku where if we don't end up using it as a block spike, and just to show that every single body has a ton of utility in being able to go for once we're going for the kill. Primarily because our opponent has such a low life total. Now, it is susceptible. There's a lot of cards you can break sometimes by not being able to see your pieces. So we try and up the consistency. That's what the Super Janemba, that's what the Baby Janemba is there for. That's what Blood's Wave Generator, which we're running a 3 of 4. You get to look at top 5, search a baby. If you find one, you untap a yellow. So pretty good. And then that's pretty much it. The rest is just good, efficient bodies. We have a lot of room to play. So how do we take this combo and mold it into an efficient yellow deck where if the combo doesn't pan out, we still have game? The 4 robotic riposts, the 2 Gokus, Steadfast Assistance, Power of a Super Saiyan as a 4 of, because that card is insane. It replaces itself. So we just have a lot of good ways to get cheap bodies out, to have a lot of consistency and be a good yellow deck. In terms of other stuff, we're looking at Basil as a 2 of. It replaces itself if you have nothing better to do. It's also a 19k dual attacker, which we can't complain too much about. Obviously, Bergamo combos really well with Power of a Super Saiyan. We can catch our opponent off guard and lock them out of the rest of the game, which is pretty good if we're going for our kill turn. And then there's just the free bodies. We got 1 SS4 Bardock fighting against Fate and a Pan. Pan really is the best one. One, she's free, and that's the biggest thing. You're almost always going to have a board with this deck. So the ability to be a free 40k that you can swing into your opponent to close out the game is absolutely amazing. It's basically like having a second overwhelm in the deck. We do run 2 Turtles. We are a yellow Saiyan, so the ability to clear out our opponent's board or draw a card and replace a card and then just getting a cheap double striker out is super efficient. We do have a bit more defense in terms of 2 armies reinforcements. 1, again, they're free. We are very energy tight in this deck, so we want to use as little as possible. So a free negate that gives us a blocker and additionally a free body if we ever need it is actually not that bad. And that's primarily the deck. You're a red-yellow combo deck that's aiming to kill your opponent on turn 3, and I've consistently done it. This deck is very consistent at killing on turn 3, so long as you're not really unlucky in terms of finding your pieces. But otherwise, because we are a yellow deck, because we are a Saiyan deck, we have some great mid-range. And I will say the addition of the riposts, the Power of the Super Saiyan, as well as Turtles has massively changed the way that this deck plays in terms of viability. Again, this is not the best version of the deck. That, I will say, probably still goes to just if you run it mono yellow or you splash some red yellow to be able to play the Graceful Charity and fix your hand a little bit more. But generally, I'd say if you want to play that, you just play an aggro yellow version, and the leader will lend itself very well to that. But in terms of playing the combo, which I'm always aiming to do, I think this is the best way to play it. I've had a ton of fun with it. Yeah, there are some matchups that are really hard. Green is an extremely hard matchup with this deck. They have like everything to do between the Dormants and the Charismatic Friezas is really tough because while your 4-drop has barrier, your 5-drop doesn't, your 7-drop doesn't, so you are stuck in a position where you're kind of at the mercy of them. Your leader can kind of mitigate a little bit because the dual attack can just make it a little bit easier for you to be able to deal with unisons and then go into your combo, but it is very much a tough battle. So the deck has swinging matchups. It's not tier 1 by any chance, but if you want a strong, like, explosive deck that can do incredibly well at locals, I highly recommend it. I have a ton of fun with it. With that said, guys, if you guys want more deck lists, more gameplay, anything like that, subscribe button's corner. What do you guys think of the deck? Do you guys guys play it this way? Would you guys play the mono yellow version? If that's the case, what would you guys include inside? I'd love to know in the comments down below. If you like the video, hey, give a thumbs up. Thumbs down if you guys didn't like it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Ciao.